phone
No,
down.
where's my drink?
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I'm Joe, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Bodine Sanders. Hey, Bo. How's it going?
Good evening, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing well. How was your week?
Week was good. How was your vacation?
It was nice. I did a little sports, looking up some sports info so I could be qualified, and I don't want you to show me up on the show. You know, I am competitive too. I'm not a former football player, but I do have a competitive bone in my body. So I'm not going to let you show me up here.
All right, let's bring it on. Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. So I don't know if you want to start out where we left off last week. We said we were going to touch base on the Sports Illustrated, what is it? The monthly, the yearly, the swimsuit edition. We didn't have time to delve into that. I don't know if you want to touch on base on that a little bit. I mean, I think
No.
that's controversial in some respects.
No, I just thought it was awesome. I don't think we've had a female tennis player on probably since Venus and Serena probably. So you know, that was good. And I think she's probably younger.
I believe she's only 19, right?
Yeah.
And then we also had Lena Bloom on there, the first transgender woman. Not only is she transgender, she's also African American, a woman of color. So I think that that's breaking barriers. And we have had women of color on there, but that was certainly a significant moment in history, controversial on two fronts. I think if there was controversy in both selections, I think people were calling out Naomi, saying that she was, discussing her mental health issues, but then had the ability to go out and do the Sports Illustrated edition, which I think was certainly unfair. We certainly aren't or shouldn't be in a position to be questioning anybody's mental health. And I think that that's a big topic for me this week, the mental health of the athletes. We have Simone Biles. That's huge. She pulled out. She said that she felt as if she had the weight of the world on her shoulders. And what do you think? What about the mental health of these athletes?
Well, if you think about star athletes over the years who had a hiccup in their game and we all, in terms of the fan base, chalked it up for not having a good game and not coming through in a competition. Maybe they were having a mental health issue, but they didn't talk about it because it wasn't the thing to do 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So maybe some student in college who's listening to this program can take the opportunity to do some research, right? And maybe write a paper about it at his or her school, meaning take a look back at very important games over the years and see, did the athlete not play well because of an injury? Did the athlete not play well or live up to the expectations that they created for themselves? And no one had an idea of what happened. I don't want to create a conspiracy theory or something close to that, but we all know Michael Jordan left the Bulls in the prime of his career to take up baseball. And, you know, it was all about why did he do it? Because we found out he wasn't a great baseball player. He wasn't a Bo Jackson or a Deion Sanders, right? Those guys went from football to baseball. Deion did it during the season, right? And had pretty good careers. They made it to the majors. Michael didn't, right? So, you know, again, as a former athlete, I would say my hardships weren't because I needed a mental health day off. You know, I write about it in my book. You know, for me, it was I didn't have the full scholarship or any additional financial help, you know, like some of my teammates who were on either half scholarship or full scholarship. So I just didn't have the funds. Therefore, I fell upon that hardship of being unable to pay my room and board and was homeless for a week. But I was able to overcome that with the help of teammates. So, you know, everybody has issues. We just, you know, and then when you get to a professional level, you want as much privacy as you can hold on to because you've got the media asking questions, be it local, regional, national, world media, right? So these things are finally coming into play. And what do? We evolve, right? So we've evolved from 10 to 15 years ago of not being able to say we have a mental health, we want to take a mental health day, to now being able to say, oh, I got to take some time off, right? This is getting to me. Or we can think about athletes who took or walked away from the game, not even the Michael Jordan example. I mean, totally walked away from the game and still had some issues personally. Maybe they were having some mental health issues, but didn't know how to handle it because it wasn't something that we talked about openly with the fan base. Maybe their teams knew, but we as the fan base probably didn't know what they were going through. And if I had a 10-minute time frame to think about a couple of athletes, for example, off the top of my head, one was a quarterback who played for the Raiders. And this kid was raised, coached by his dad. He was a lefty quarterback, and he was raised not to eat any junk food, none. And then all of a sudden he makes it to the NFL and he's got this freedom now. And he's like a kid going from high school to college. He went from college to the pros. So he basically found himself when he got to the pros. He was making money. He had some freedom and he kind of lost his way. So maybe he had a breakdown of some sort, and he ended up not lasting in the NFL because he couldn't handle that pressure. Remember, when you're a quarterback, that's pressure that most positions on the field and on the team don't feel. That's a total different pressure as the leader of the team, regardless if you're the captain or not. If you're the quarterback, you're automatically assumed, because of our past experiences, history of football, for some reason, that position is considered the leader of the team, especially on offense. So, we're evolving. We're making progress, and I think it's a good thing.
I do too. We have a little bit of controversy going on in the comments. We have Kathleen and Justin are duking it out over if Simone Biles is the greatest of all time or not. But Justin is calling out Gabby Douglas. Kathleen is saying that Simone is the GOAT. I think that's an interesting perspective. I think that for Simone, when you look at I was thinking about the athletes, and she certainly has a celebrated history of accomplishment and success. But you know what the difference is this year? I think it's probably huge that they don't have their families there for support. Their families are there virtual. And I didn't think about that until she spoke out and said, luckily my family was here virtually. But that certainly isn't the same thing. And I think that when you have your parents there, I mean, these are young, really children. I mean, and I forget Simone's certainly in her early 20s, but I certainly know that as a young woman in my 20s, I was still very reliant on my parents for support and guidance. And I think that they're under the public scrutiny, a global scrutiny. So Kathleen is saying mental health is real. I don't know if you want to bring that comment up, Chris, but that's certainly true. I think that mental health in any organization, and the problem is that sports is big business. So, so you don't necessarily, and there's also they're talking, they have sponsors, they have they have people they have to answer to, that they who are dependent upon them, are the expectation that they are going to be making millions of dollars for these companies and organizations and sponsors, and that's an additional pressure that people don't think about. I'm certain that those sponsors are heavily involved in the decisions that these athletes make.
Most people who don't do a deep dive don't know that these athletes are actually professional, right? There are probably very few who are in college because they're so outstanding that they qualify and make an Olympic team, right? There's probably a small handful. But most of these athletes, the majority of them, not most, the majority are professionals. So you're right. They have a sponsor, they're getting paid, they represent companies along with their families and themselves. And you also earn money based on the awards you win. So there's no doubt it's a business, right? We talked about this a little bit regarding the NBA basketball team versus the amateurs playing in the Olympics. Remember we talked about that?
We did.
And so it's a business. So yeah, no doubt about it. And here's another one, for example. Allison Felix, who is a decorated track star. One of her foundation and some of her sponsors paid for some of 10 females, mothers who wanted to bring their kid or kids with them to the Olympics, but they couldn't afford it. They stepped up and paid for it because she understood what she went through during her time frame of competing in a number of Olympics, having a child and so forth. So having support there absolutely helps. Not just support of the fans, but support of your family, immediate family or friends. So you're right. Those things mentally can help you get over the hurdle when you're competing. Right. So
and you're bringing up a great point. They don't even have the fans there, so that's, I know Will Polston is commenting, and I want to bring his comments up because I know he's hopping off to do his own show. So Chris, bring up his first comment. The first one.
What did he say?
You see it, Chris? It says, "Love the hair, Joe." and then his second comment. Bring up his second one. Love your hair too, Bo.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Will. We love you too. And I love your hair too. It actually reminds me of my father. Will and my father have some similarities. That's one of the reasons I like him so much. But anyway, so let's get back to, so Justin's bringing up Ryan Lochte, and I think that he was somebody too. I certainly think that Ryan Lochte cracked under the pressure the last Olympics. Not only has he been in Michael Phelps' shadow for so many years, he went off the rails in the last Olympics. But
there you go. We talked about that as well. Maybe he had a mental moment.
I'm sure he did. But did you see? I think there's similarities there, but I don't think that we want to characterize any mental health break as they're also very different and personal, that we don't want to compare anybody. I think everybody's running their own race and they all have their own issues. What do you think? Did you see Piers Morgan? Do you have any regard for him? He called Simone out, and I don't know if you saw it. He said,
"No, I saw it.
I don't think it's. Yeah, I want to read the quote. He said,
"Go ahead.
I don't think it's remotely courageous, heroic, or inspiring to quit." And not only is that just rude and condescending and off base, but it's also hypocritical. He walked off the Good Morning Britain when he got into a disagreement with his coworker, which he was out of line then in that scenario as well, in my opinion. I mean, not that I'm a big, I'm not up on all of the royal family and all of their information, but again, that's another mental health issue that I don't think we have the right or the qualifications or even the inclination to be judging people who are facing mental health crises.
Well, listen, I've learned in my old age that I'll stay in my lane. He's a Monday morning quarterback. His opinion means nothing to me. I don't know much about him, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't a top level athlete. He has no idea the training and the difficulty that Simone Biles has to go through. And for Justin, think about this, because he compared Lackey to Simone, right?
Right.
Lackey, if he made a mistake in the pool, he wasn't going to drown, right?
Right.
If she makes a mistake on that floor, she could get seriously hurt for a long period of time, right? All those flips and those tumbles and those spins in the air, you can lose your balance. You can lose sight of where you are when you're flipping. Okay. So if you're not an athlete and you don't know what it's like to flip, right, in the air during competition with high adrenaline. So I don't give Monday morning quarterbacks any room. They're not living rent free in my head. I don't have time for them. Okay. So, and again, I'm also not one of those guys that's going to say he never played or participated in a sport, so he or she doesn't know. I don't know if he did or not. I just know in terms of the media and the age that we live in, where you're trying to get clicks, he's gaslighting. I ain't got time for that. This is a serious issue. The serious issue should be taken seriously and have a serious conversation. I'm not interested in having conversations with people about a serious topic if they're not serious. So I don't waste my time.
True. And so I think that this is this is a learning moment, I think, for Justin. I mean, Justin is saying, and Simone sucks. I think, Justin, you need to be mindful that you never want to judge anybody else. You don't. She certainly is talented, and she's talented and a very sweet woman, and she's gone through a lot. I mean, if you'll recall, her coach, she was a victim of sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. And I just think you want to be mindful of that, Justin, that we're not in a position to be insulting or even judging anybody else's story.
Because we don't want people to judge you. Right. So if you want to be treated fairly and taken seriously, Justin, then you have to give out that same fairness, right? Because we live in a world where sometimes what goes around comes around. If you live long enough, it's true. So be mindful, be fair, take a step back, gather yourself and go, okay, what is she dealing with? Is it a serious issue? Yes. Then show some empathy.
I agree. And Justin's bringing up another good point. The Larry Nassar thing must still trouble her, and I'm sure it will. And I believe that it'll probably...
Of course it does.
So let's have compassion for Simone Biles, even if you're not her biggest fan, Justin. I think that we always want to show compassion and empathy for other people. So I want to continue on with the mental health topic, because I'm sure that this is and I don't know if any of the Barber brothers are watching tonight, and I believe that they are Green Bay Packer fans. So Aaron Rodgers came out this week and said that he spent the summer and part of his journey, and he finally reported to camp, but he said that he was evaluating his own mental state this summer. And I'd like to talk about that topic a little bit. Of course, I'm not a football expert, but I do have an opinion on it, and I'll listen to yours first because you're the expert, and then I'll give you my takeaway.
Well, I'm glad that you did your homework and you're carrying me because you are the quarterback of this team. Remember, I am a strong safety. I will always see myself as a defensive player. So you're the quarterback. I appreciate that.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that, but it makes sense. It makes sense, right? He has been dealing with what we talked about, right? We talked about his organization not providing and drafting and signing free agents for the defense, which means all the pressure has been put on him and the offense to win games, get to the playoffs, win playoff games, and get to the Super Bowl. And he was able to do that once. Their expectation was he could do it again. Maybe comparing him to the GOAT, Tom Brady. It's not fair. So he's had to deal with all of those things, all of those issues, and the fan base, the media, right? So yeah, I can see how he needed to take a step back and get away from Green Bay, play golf in the golf tournament that he played with DeChambeau and Brady and Mickelson. And I can see why. That was relaxing. I love golf. It is relaxing. When I go out and play golf, and I haven't played in a while, but when I do, even though we're competing, it's relaxing for me because I am not taking it as seriously as maybe the other three guys, right? So I could see how he absolutely needed to take a step back and step away from the game. And maybe that's why he made the comment that he wanted to be traded, because he was at a state where he was like, I'm fed up.
I think he was fed. Did you see the press conference that he had? I guess he had a 30-minute press conference. I believe it was today. And I didn't see the press conference, but I read a little bit about it. And he was saying that part of his issue was that he wanted to have a say in the organization. Like you said, with the free agents, he felt as if some of the veteran players were let go and mishandled in an inappropriate manner. But that's a topic of conversation. Should quarterbacks, because quarterbacks are typically the center and pivotal position of these teams, should they really have a say in what the organizations do? I mean, I have a fairly in my position, I think that I do have a level of authority, and I don't necessarily have a say in what my organization does. They may consider my opinion, but should quarterbacks be given the latitude to weigh in on an organization's decisions in regard to talent and player recruitment and relations?
I understand how you feel, my co-host Joe. I understand how you feel.
Well, it's a question. I don't even know how I feel. I want to see how you feel.
But you can't compare your organization and how your organization is run, right, to how a football organization is run, right? So what does that mean? When the quarterback is the leader of the team, and the quarterback is viewed and told by the ownership, the executive management, all of the coaches, hey, you're our guy. Everything's on you. We need you to make this happen. Then in football, quarterbacks have learned over the years that if that's true, then you've got to allow me to have the players that I need in order to make it happen. You can tell me all day that I'm the quarterback and you want me to drive down the field and score touchdowns and win games, right? You can tell me that all day. But if you don't have the wide receivers that I need, if you don't have the running backs that I need, and you don't have the defense that I need, because there's a cliche out there in sports, right? Offense wins games, gets you to the playoffs, but in the championship game, the defense wins because it's up to the defense to stop that other team from scoring so your guys can score, and right? Whoever scored the most points wins. The better defense is really the key in the championship game. Throughout the season, the defense can bend a little bit. But in the championship game, defense cannot bend. Your special teams have to be perfect, right? So if all of that pressure is put on the quarterback, quarterbacks now know, okay, well, if I'm the guy, I need the entire team in order to win, right? So if you're taking his best defensive players and allowing them to be signed by other teams, he's like, okay, I can score 30 points a game, but if Tom Brady comes down and scores 40 points a game, we're losing. And that's real.
So let me ask you this: and I believe that Tom Brady has that. He has had that. I don't know if he has that now, but certainly on the Patriots, he had a level of authority and respect that the ownership yielded to. I mean, is that commonplace on teams? I certainly don't know the answer to that, but our quarterbacks typically consulted in those decisions.
The teams that respect their quarterback and give and bestow all that pressure on him, absolutely. Okay. Those teams, those owners and executives who have the wherewithal to say, okay, we know this guy's smart. If you're quarterback, you're absolutely smart. You have to be, right? So if they have the wherewithal to say, and not an ego, right? If they say our quarterback is smart, he's our guy, we're talking to him, we're having conversations, we need, because quarterbacks have egos too, right? So if you want to keep the quarterback happy, you're going to have those conversations. They may publicly say they do. They may privately not let you know. They may have those conversations privately and not tell the public. But I guarantee you, quarterbacks who are winning Super Bowls, they're having those conversations because the coaches are smart enough and the executives are smart enough to say, we have to keep him in the loop so we keep him happy so he can focus on what his job is. Those owners who have big egos and those executives who have big egos that are not keeping quarterbacks in the loop, that's why quarterbacks are leaving those teams, and those teams are always either in the middle of the pack or losers.
So I want to expand on that. And Justin reminded me of something. He's talking about where this comment, he has so many comments here, but it's something about Brett Favre. And I think that part of Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre left and went to the Jets and then the Vikings. So I think that part of Aaron Rodgers' issue is that, he's not being considered or guaranteed anything beyond the 2021 season. And I believe that that's often commonplace, right? When we have these quarterbacks who are getting near the end of their career, and there must be a certain dent or a tarnish to their ego. I mean, you've been raised to be you're at the top of your game all of these years, and then you bring in a different quarterback, and I think to myself, he was in the same position. He came in, and he was the heir apparent, and it was certainly the intention that he was going to be replacing Brett Favre. And I think it's ironic to me that he's in the same position that Brett Favre was in, 20 years ago. I believe that was in 2005, if I recall correctly. And, you know, we even saw that with Tom Brady, right? Tom left the Patriots and went to Tampa. And I think that has something to do with it. Don't you? I think that you want to be at the top of your game for as long as you can. They're certainly much more talented than on the football field than I would be. And Tom's in tip top shape, obviously, but is age a factor?
For Aaron Rodgers, no. Aaron Rodgers has got easily 5 more good years because he's an outstanding athlete. He's a better athlete than Tom Brady. Okay. He can throw the ball easily. If Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady's the GOAT because he's won 7 Super Bowls, Tom Brady, if you want to rank how he throws the football, is a 5. Aaron Rodgers is a 9 or a 10. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers is a better athlete. But you said something that again, I'm not on top of everything, but Aaron Rodgers might be on the last year of his contract. The contract has a lot to do with it, right? And the games and I shouldn't say the games, but it really is a game. The way his agent is positioning him and, you know, his client, his job as his agent's job is to position Aaron Rodgers in the best position long term. So that the contract has a lot to do with it, but also some of the things we talked about earlier has a lot to do with it. But you brought up something else. The way he came into the league and his relationship with Brett Favre is well documented. Brett Favre did not spend any time with him because Brett was not a nice guy in terms of holding his hand or ingratiating him to the league. And in other words, the quarterback relationship was not the typical quarterback relationship between those two. I think Aaron Rodgers, being the good guy that he is, has a better relationship with his backup than he did with Brett Favre. So I don't think the backup has anything to do with it because Aaron Rodgers can throw the football. He's not afraid. I think Brett was afraid because he knew Aaron Rodgers could throw the football, right? So Aaron is not lacking confidence in his skill set. He knows he's a bad man because he is. Everybody in the league knows Aaron Rodgers can throw the football any way he can. The only guy that's in this conversation is the kid from Kansas City. Other than that, there's 2 guys that can throw the football any way, anyhow. Aaron Rodgers and the kid from Kansas City. So,
and is that Patrick Mahone?
Oh yeah. Those are the only 2 guys can throw. Can throw. You know, they're like a point guard on the field. They can throw any pass, anywhere, anyhow. Period. So no, Aaron doesn't lack confidence. But like I say, we're not there living in Green Bay to hear what's being said on the radio, what's being leaked out of the executive offices. But one thing I know is happening in football, more women are now earning the opportunity to be in executive office, not just on the field as assistant coaches and so forth. So having diversity in the executive offices, in the C-suite, I think is going to elevate the relationships, because when you got too many men in a room with egos, oh, come on, you know what that's like. That's crazy. So
I do. I'm in the room with these coast to coast guys. I can't believe we're talking about Green Bay and we don't have the Barber brothers on tonight. It's they're from Wisconsin, and I can't believe it. Chris, message them on the back channel and tell them we're dedicating so much time to Aaron Rodgers and they're missing it. So I want to stick with the NFL, and if they hop on, we can certainly get back into that conversation. But what do you think about the new rules on COVID and the potential fines for these athletes?
Listen, again, and I'm pretty sure I will give this example. When I was in college in the 80s, mid 80s, when I started college, right? Graduated high school in 83. That was the beginning, or somewhat the beginning, of steroids. right?
Right.
I did not take steroids. Why didn't I take steroids? Because of a number of reasons. One, if I'd have took steroids and got caught, my mom would have whooped my gluteus maximus. Okay?
Good
That's
reason.
number one. Number one, afraid of mom. Number two, afraid of needles. Right? And number three, the behind the scenes, the dark rhetoric about, or the dark information about making mistakes and overusing it was something I wasn't really interested in body parts falling off and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And you heard things about your temper. You could lose your temper, you know, your blood pressure. I mean, there was just so much kind of, you know, stuff out there. So when you think about me not taking steroids, I apply that to this new decision by the NFL. And what do I mean by that? If you want to play football on any level, there's a couple of rules. You have to wear a helmet. You have to wear shoulder pads. You have to wear leg pads, knee pads, thigh pads, right? You have to wear a protective cup for your private parts, right? And you also have to wear a pad right in the back, lower back of your gluteal butt, right? That's to protect you. Why? Because if you want to come on the field and play football, you have to have the equipment. Why? Because if you don't, you're going to get killed. Because I can tell you right now, if a guy walked on the field with just the helmet and no shoulder pads, no thigh pads, and the coach and the quarterback hiked the ball and tossed it to the running back, and the running back's job was to, you know, run the ball forward, I'm not feeling any empathy for that fool for running at me with just a helmet on and no shoulder pads. My job as a defensive player is to crush him. So if you want to be crazy enough to get out on the field with no pads on and play where everybody else has got helmet, shoulder pads, they got all the equipment, that's on you. But guess what? A coach would never allow that. The doctors, the team doctors, would never allow an idiot to walk on the field without all the equipment on, because their job is to help the person protect themselves, right? So if these guys don't want to live up to follow the rules of the NFL and get a shot, then don't play. Well, there are plenty. It's just like going on strike, right? If you don't want to follow the rules, don't play, because there's plenty of people out there on the practice squad who want to play, and they'll take the shot and they'll play. So,
well, I want to clarify. The fine isn't if you're not wearing, if you don't take a shot. It's if they get caught not following the protocols, if they choose not to take a shot, which means, you know, wearing the mask in public. So they're still allowing the choice for the players. But if you're caught not wearing your mask in the public area, or whatever their specific COVID rules are, which I assume are the general COVID rules. So, you know, but even that, I will say, you know, we were mandated, actually, you know, a similar thing in my organization. We were told the same thing. If you don't want to get a shot, I forgot the mandated rule. So I think that there's another point there, and we talked about it earlier this week, the guys and I, and we spoke about it, that I agree with you 100%. These players aren't volunteers. They are employed by these organizations, and just as we all have rules and regulations at our places of employment, you know, and if you don't want to follow the rules, exactly, find a different job. I mean, that's my opinion on that.
Joe, if you look at all of the rules, if you don't have to do it now, but, you know, in the next couple of days, if you look at all those new rules, the NFL, right, just laid down the law, those rules are put in place. So basically, they're saying, if you don't follow the rules, you're not going to play. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying, right, you're going to have to jump through hoops. You're going to have to get tested. And if you test positive, then guess what? We're not forfeiting any games. I mean, we're not going to forfeit, whatever. We're going to basically dock your pay, right? And you can remember we talked about this. Don't mess with a man's money. In the pro leagues, you don't mess with pro athletes' money. So they're basically boxing in those players who don't want to get vaccinated, because if they hurt their team, they're done. Because players who are vaccinated, if they're going to lose a check because of a teammate, oh no, these guys, believe me, the locker rooms are going to be heated come preseason. When they start preseason practice, oh, it's going to get heated. Absolutely. These guys will police each other big time. Absolutely. No, it's crazy.
And I think too, they've already lost a year. So finally we have one of the Barber brothers on. So Adam, you're saying, what's up, Bo? What's up, Joanne? Excellent show. Thank you. I don't know if you heard, but we dedicated half the show, Adam, to the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. You missed it. So you'll have to catch it on the replay. We gave our thoughts about the press conference and Aaron's decision to finally come back to camp. So I think that was an interesting conversation. So if you have any thoughts on that, throw them out there. We can jump back into that category. I'm sorry.
He definitely came back. I just remembered with the new contract that they have. He's getting he would have gotten fined a lot of money per day. And it used to be that at the end, say you missed a week and it's $50,000 a day. At the end of the week, it adds up to what, $250,000, right? The teams could say, okay, we'll eat that. You don't have to pay it. Nowadays, whatever the fine is, they have to pay it. In other words, the pressure is now being put on the player. Real pressure. You will lose this money. We're not going to eat it when you come back if you miss a week. So that has a lot to do with it. I mean, even though he's making a lot of money, you don't just want to throw away $250,000 or whatever it would total up to be, right?
So I love Adam's comment. Let's bring that up, Chris. I was with Aaron whether he came back or not. I was on his side. So yeah, I love that perspective. And I think too, I found it very interesting, and you didn't hear the press conference, Bo, but he also said somebody asked him about the relationship with his coach, and he said it was professional. So professional pretty much means, yeah, we're not that close, and there's a fracture there in my perception. He's not saying, we're colleagues, we work well together. I mean, professional is,
listen,
do you have the same perception that I do?
Aaron Rodgers has a high IQ and a high EQ, right? And for those who don't know what EQ is, his emotional intelligence. He is a very smart dude. And then when you mix in his California personality, some might think it's a little arrogant or obnoxious. No, the guy he knows how good he is. He's a very nice guy. He doesn't like people playing with his intelligence. It pisses him off. And so I agree. I'm with Aaron Rodgers because I think he could go to another team with a great defense and win a Super Bowl. I truly believe that. So he just doesn't want to be taken advantage of. And I agree with that because he knows he's a really good quarterback, and they've wasted about 5 years of his time not giving him a total package team that he needed to win more Super Bowls. So I'm on his side as well.
So I want to bring up Adam's comment because I love it. You see that one, Chris? Not that one. Yeah, that one. But then the one before then when he said that one.
Yeah, he's a bad man. And let's give the person credit where credit is due. The person that coined that is Stephen A. Smith from ESPN. Stephen A. Smith started that. And so let's give him credit. But it's true. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. He can play some football. And I appreciate that.
And I want to thank Adrian for tuning in, and can we bring up Adrian's comment too, Chris? So he said he came back because his contract is now favorable to him and he is no longer locked in long term. He won. So I had a misread on that. So I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood about his contract. I thought that he was hoping for a longer term contract and was with the expectation that he wanted something beyond 2021. But I could be wrong. Maybe Adam could clarify on that, or maybe Bo. But
that's what I was talking about. His agent positioned him where the organization now has to prove that they value him. So put it this way, if he signed a 7-year deal, they could pay him all the money in the world. But if they're not bringing and keeping the athletes or signing free agents to help build up the defense, right, then he's just stuck in the same position. But now if it's a short-term deal, they have to do that or he's out of there. So he's now has leverage. They've lost the leverage that they had hanging over him. So that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So thanks for clarifying that. Thank you, Adrian, because I misspoke earlier then. I don't want to dedicate our whole topic to the NFL. I do want to give some of the U.S. swimmers a little shout out. Katie Ledecky, I'm a big fan of hers. She came back and won the gold medal and after struggling in their first two races, and won the first ever gold medal in the women's 1500 meters. So I loved that. I don't know if you had a chance to see that victory, and her teammate Erica, I'm not going to remember her last name, Erica. Justin, what was Erica's last name? She won the silver. Justin will know and he'll help me out. And then right before our show started, Bobby Fink came and won the first ever men's 800 meter. He was way behind. He was actually in 5th in the last turn, and he pulled it out. And I don't think I've seen anybody, swim as fast as he did. And of course, what was Erica's last name, Justin? I want to give her due. And I thought it was great. It was reminiscent of Michael Phelps. That's how dramatic the ending was. So you'll have to watch the replay, Bo, but I certainly want to give those swimmers a shout out.
Well, I do enjoy swimming because we had this conversation. I can't swim. And so I watched some of the preliminary swimming meets leading up to the big one, but I missed the big one. But yeah, I enjoy swimming. They're doing a great job. They're doing the best they can. And what is it? The women's softball team is doing well.
I think the women's softball team got silver. They were upset. They did not win the gold.
They didn't win the gold?
No, they won silver. So that was a big upset. It was Erica Sullivan. Kathleen, thanks for clarifying that. Erica Sullivan. I'm pretty, women's softball lost. They won the gold. It was a big upset. So I was disappointed with that. So I forget who came in first.
I like the fact that they won a medal, right?
They lost to Japan. So the home, there is something to be said when the home team wins something. It's just, it's a great moment too. If we're going to get beat,
Japan's always tough. And remember, softball was out of the Olympics, then it came back, right? Yeah. So, we'll be fine in the next Olympics. I look forward to continuing watching what I can because life is busy, but I'm paying attention.
So let's bring up Adam's comment. I mean, this is interesting, and I've thought about this as well, about the basketball team. First year, he's truly concerned about the USA basketball team. They are struggling right now, and so that's surprising. It's surprising, right? I mean, we expected to sweep, I believe, and they're definitely struggling.
Talking about the men's basketball team?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this. Globally, the guys, they have different rules. Young men in other countries start playing if it's a kid 16, 17 years old, if he's really good. See, they don't have that college structure that we have, right? So if a kid's 16, 17, 18 is really good, that kid starts playing with the professionals. So they develop a relationship and a rapport sooner. And then our basketball guys aren't playing together as much because they're representing other teams. So if you don't have all of your top 15, literally the top 15 dream team, and we all must admit the team that we have competing now is not a dream team. It's close, but it's not a dream team, right? It's not. So when you have the other teams in the world competing and getting better, we have to put our best on the floor, and we don't have it. We have close to a dream team, but it's not a dream team.
So I know you, of course, I'm torn about. I would prefer to see amateurs in the Olympics. To me, that's the heart and spirit of the Olympics. At least the original heart and spirit. Now we have professionals across most of the competitions. So
right.
We've already talked about that, so I don't want to get into that. But that's still my opinion on that.
Yep.
So Justin's reminding us that the USA tennis doubles is tomorrow at 2 a.m. So you'll have to update us in the morning. Brother. Yeah. So we talked about this too. You want to bring up Adam's comment? We can get into a little bit of controversy. Another problem is they don't allow someone to run because of smoking pot, but someone who has allegations of sexual assault is allowed to fence. So, of course, there's a key word in there, and I don't know all of the details of the fencing individual, but allegations, of course, doesn't mean that anything is proven. So I'd have to know more details about that, but I think that we're all innocent until proven guilty. Sexual assault is certainly. I'm no advocate of it, and I'm vehemently opposed to it. So it's if there's but I don't want to convict anybody before they have. So
I think the comment. It's obviously I understand where the person is coming from, but we have to separate the two. The Olympic organizations that make the rules don't make rules based on criminal history. They make rules based on drugs because it's a competition. It's up to the countries where these athletes are coming from to handle allegations of wrongdoing. So wherever that allegation, that player competitor is from, I don't know if that's an American athlete or an athlete from somewhere else, that's up to their country. So are they happy that that person is competing, bringing that kind of bad publicity? No, but again, I'm not I don't know all the rules of the Olympic Committee, but I'm pretty sure 99.9% of their rules are based on drug performance testing for drugs and those things. So yeah, it's a difficult position that they're in.
And we talked about Sha'Carri Richardson, last week, and we agree that I think Bo and I have the same opinion. She did break the rules. I think that these athletes know the rules going in. I think that my biggest issue with that situation was that she wasn't even allowed to compete when the suspension was up. When her 30-day suspension was up, they did not allow her to come into the relays. I think that the IOC, if you want to compete at that level. I'm torn about it because, of course, again, she had a mental health crisis. Her biological mother had died, and she was trying to cope with that. But so it's tough. It's tough on both sides. I believe those rules should be changed. It's not a drug that enhances your performance. So why it's being considered or even in that pool and why that's even part of the regulations, I do have a problem with that. I think it should be amended, especially since recreational marijuana is being legalized all over the country. But of course, this is an international committee. It's not based on the USA laws either. So that's something to consider as well.
That is correct. You are learning fast, Joe. You're picking it up. Woohoo!
Well, you said I'm the QB. I got to be on top of my game.
You have to know the quarterback's job is to know what everybody's supposed to do, from the offensive lineman, the running back, tight ends, and wide receivers. That's the quarterback's job.
So, and I told you, Adam's got me. He's got me in fantasy football next. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about. I do want to win that competition, Adam. I do want to say that I'm coming in as the rookie. So I want the big upset. So Adam is saying Adam would love to do a show with Bo and talk sports. Anytime you can hop on, I'll moderate. I don't have to. It could be the Bo, Joe, and Adam segment, perhaps next week. Adam, what do you think? We're certainly game for that. And I don't know if I'm comfortable with being kicked off. I just was promoted. I was just promoted to quarterback. Now. And the Bo and Adam show doesn't sound as good as the Bo and Joe show. So
no. Adam can be a guest on our show. He's more than welcome to be a guest. But Joe is the quarterback here. Nope, there's no substituting on third downs. No, she's first down, second down, third down, and fourth down quarterback.
So Adam doesn't like to hear that because he's my boss here at the network. He likes to be in the position of power. So
that's okay. He'll get over it, but he's more than welcome to be a guest. We'd love to have him.
Perfect.
We'd love to have him. He can be the Tim Tebow for our team, because right. Tim is now going to he's had a come to Jesus moment. He understands he's not playing quarterback. He's gonna probably make the team as a tight end for my hometown Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's going to do well. People are going to be surprised. All those people that dislike him, wait until they see how he proves himself, because the guy was an outstanding athlete. He should have had this come to Jesus moment 10 years ago and switch from quarterback to tight end. But yeah, so it's kind of similar.
So let's bring up Adam's last comment, Chris. He's given me some I'm relieved. He's saying, Joanne, you got it. He just wants to hop on once. But Bo is infectious, Adam. Once you're on, you're not going to want to just be on once. You might want to. We might have to revamp things. And of course, there's always Sports Minute too. Adam is one of the hosts of Sports Minute. We have other shows on the network that you would actually be a great fit. You could guest star on any of those shows too, Bo. They have a morning tailgate show. They have a Sports Minute. We have the Coast to Coast Bros where they talk sports and trivia. You could really, I'd love to see you go against the guys on trivia. They tried to I volunteered tonight and they said, no, we don't want anybody who's going to come up with zero answers. So by the end of this year, Bo, I'm going to win that trivia.
Well, tell Adam if he wants to be a guest next week, we'd love to have him. We can talk about that show that he's going to have on Sunday mornings. That's a good time during football season to have a show. If we could talk about it. I can. We'll talk about it then, because once football season starts, I become a different person.
All right. Okay. Well, we're down to our last 2 minutes. Any final thoughts?
Well, there's lots of things that we can talk about next week, because the NBA draft is tomorrow night. Right.
I better write that down. Now I have to learn about basketball. Is that not baseball, football? Now I'm on basketball. All right.
NBA draft is tomorrow night. And we can talk about the Cleveland baseball team changing their name, the Guardians. That's a great diversity change. We can talk about Texas and Oklahoma next week. Texas and Oklahoma wanting to join the SEC. They want to step up with the big boys, right? We had another African-American or biracial kid win a golf tournament. So he's going to make a name for himself. His name is Cameron Champ. And and then the big hot story on ESPN, Hansel Emmanuel, the kid with the one arm who can play basketball. That's the hot story from this past week. He's from the Dominican Republic, and he's probably going to earn a scholarship to play D1 basketball. And if he continues to improve, he might be the first NBA player with one arm that makes an NBA team. So we've got a lot to talk about next week.
Amazing. And we actually forgot about we haven't talked about the big upset with the female reporters, anchors, right? Yeah, we never touched on that. And I forgot their names. But I'm going to.
Oh, you're talking about the controversy with ESPN?
Right. We ousted
Maria Taylor and what's her name? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Maria Taylor ended up leaving, and Rachel Nichols.
Oh, Rachel Nichols, right. So
yeah,
that's something we should definitely talk about next week.
Yeah.
I meant to bring that up this week, but as usual, we're out of time.
There's so much to talk about. That's what's great about sports. There's so much to talk about.
We're always worried we're not going to have enough to talk about, and then we run out of time.
That's why there's a Fox Sports 1 and an ESPN and a CBS Sports. There's always something to talk about.
Right, but they don't have Bono or Joe, so we got them beat. So.
Oh no! I can't leave Comcast Sportsnet out either because I used to work for Comcast. So no, it's been good. It's been great. Great to see you. You look great. You look like you relaxed and had a good vacation. So good to see you.
I did. You too. I want to thank, as usual, I would like to thank all of our listeners. We have Justin, we have Kathleen, Adam, thanks for hopping on. Adrian, thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time, which I believe it is, we appreciate the support, and it was great to see you as well. We're missing a couple other guys, and I always end by thanking Chris, the man behind the scenes. We couldn't do a show without him. So he's the best I always say he's the best in the biz, and he's actually has a new name, Chris P. Bacon. So thank you. I love that.
I love that.
So Adrian saying it is the first time for tuning in, and we appreciate it.
I'd like to know, is Adrian a guy or a gal?
I don't know, because there's a baby picture. I'm thinking could go either way. Adrian, we don't know what pronoun you use, so if you want to educate us so that we know next time, we would appreciate it.
We welcome female. We want female listeners. We want to grow our audience to be very diverse. So bring it on, please. Join us.
It says Ferris, your brother.
Don't get that one.
All right.
Adrian Ferris. Oh.
Yes.
Adrian, my man from Atlanta, from the ATL, Villanova baseball player. There we go, right. Adrian, my man. He was tuning in. Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, he was. We were freshmen together at Villanova, and he was the. We talk about diversity. I know we want to go, but he was the only African American baseball player on the team my freshman year.
Wow!
And so he's a good dude. Real good dude down in the ATL. Thanks for tuning in, bro. I look forward to chatting with you.
We might need Adrian on as a guest then. That's another possibility, right?
Oh
Adrian,
yeah,
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, he's in tune. He is in tune to sports, but more baseball, big time. So he ran an academy down in Atlanta for baseball. So yeah, I'm glad he tuned in. Absolutely, I'll talk to him about it.
All right. Well, because we'll have the end of the baseball season's coming up. We have the World Series. We'll certainly love to have you.
We can have him on. Yeah.
And Adrian too. We have a lot of baseball shows on the network, and sometimes we're looking for pinch hitters. I'm going to use some baseball lingo, Bo.
There you go.
So if you're ever interested. So Justin is saying, Bo, you're the best. And Joe, you're a sweetheart. I can't think of any better way to end than that. Giving a shout out to our number one fan, Justin. So thank you, Justin. And thank you, Chris. You can play us out. We're 5 minutes late, but it's worth it. It was worth it. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Joe.